Welcome to this video session. In this video series, we will see this problem market analysis 1, that is problem number 1158. It is a medium standard problem. So let's solve this problem. In this problem, we have a users table in which the user ID is the primary key of this table. This table has the info of all the users of an online shopping website. Next, we have the orders table in which the order ID is the primary key of its table. The item ID is a foreign key to the items table. Buyer ID and seller ID are foreign keys to the users table. Okay. So buyer ID and seller ID, they will be mapped with the user ID. Okay. And then we have the item ID, which is the primary key of this items table. We need to write a solution to find for each user the join date and the number of orders they made as a buyer in 2019. Okay. So let us see this. We have the users table, we have the orders table. Okay. And we need to find out the join date for each the user, the number of orders they made as a buyer in 2019. So we need to only map the buyer ID. So what is really important for us is the buyer ID and the order date from the orders table. Okay. And from the items table is not really important. Okay. This is not an important table, so we can discard this table. Okay. And we need the users table. So this user ID will be mapped with the buyer ID. Okay. And we need the joining date and we need the order date, for which the order date should be 2019. The year should be 2019. Okay. So first and foremost, okay, how we are going to approach this problem. If you look at this one, right? If you look at this, we need everything from the users table and we only need to calculate the count of the total orders in 2019 for this particular buyer ID. Okay. So buyer ID 1, if you just see 2019, right? Year 2019 is over here for buyer ID 1. So how many buyer IDs, how many for buyer ID 1, how many orders have been placed in the year 2019? Only 1. Okay. But if you look at for buyer ID 2, right? One order has been placed here in the year 2019 and another order has been placed here in the year 2019. Okay. And that count is 2. For 3 and 4, it's 0, 0 because it's not in the year 2019. Okay. So one thing which we can understand from here is, okay, we need to definitely join the orders table and the users table, and we definitely need to use the left join because we need everything from the users table and only the common part from the orders table, and the common part will be by mapping the buyer ID with the user ID and taking the count of the distinct count of the buyer IDs. Okay. We are going to group it by this buyer ID. Okay. So let us just see how we are going to do this one. Okay. So first and foremost, we will have to select the o dot order underscore date. Okay. And o dot buyer underscore ID from the orders table as O, where the year of O dot order underscore date is equals to 2019. Okay. So with this, what will happen if I run this one? If I go down, you will see that I got all the orders for the year 2019. Okay. And I got the respective buyer as well. Okay. Now what I need to do, I will store this in a temporary table. Okay. Let me first store this with temp as, and let me place it here. Now what I'm going to do it, I'm going to select the distinct, okay, u dot, let's say, user ID, and I will alias this as the buyer ID, because if you look at the output, right, the output over here accepts the buyer ID. Okay. So the distinct u dot user ID as buyer ID. Okay. We need the join date as well. Okay. And now what we need to do, we need to count the number of buyer IDs, okay, from the temporary table. So count t dot buyer ID, okay, and I'm going to use a window function. So over partition by, how I'm going to partition it by, that means how I'm going to group it by, I am going to group it by user ID, okay, u dot user ID as orders in 2019, because this is how I'm going to alias this as, okay. If I go down, you will see it's orders in 2019, okay. And after this, what we are going to do, this is from users as u, left join temp as t on t dot buyer ID equals to u dot user ID. Let's run this code. See, it has accepted. Let's submit this. And you see that this has beaten 95.33% and it has a runtime of 1137 millisecond. So this is a pretty efficient solution. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and please don't forget to press the bell icon for notification. Thank you.